Hello, dear colleagues. Welcome to the UCARE LevelUp Fireside Chat episode. I am Dr. Emek Kocatürk Göncü from Koç University School of Medicine, Turkey. Today, we are going to have a vivid discussion on the challenges in developing a scientific project in Urticaria. And our speakers will be Jonathan Bernstein from University of Cincinnati College of Medicine and Bernstein Allergy Group, Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. And we have junior physicians Fernanda de Cunha, Federal University of Sao Paulo, and Marisa Paulino, Hospital Santa Maria, Lisbon, Portugal. So the junior physicians are going to ask questions on challenges in developing a scientific project in Urticaria. They have questions in their minds, and we as senior physicians will try to answer these questions. So let me give some information on the UCARE LevelUp program. The UCARE LevelUp program is an educational program for physicians, and it aims to educate physicians on guideline recommendations, diagnostic workups, the burden of chronic urticaria, differential diagnosis, comorbidities, and consequences of chronic urticaria. And it aims to spread awareness of the UCARE network. So, and this UCARE Level Up program is not only fireside chats, but we have many activities, including webinars, quizzes, podcasts, videos, journal clubs, grand rounds, and poster sessions. And the most experienced urticariologists are willingly sharing their experience and knowledge on urticaria with you. So please follow the UCARE Level Up social media to learn about it more. So let's start with our fireside chat. And now the junior physicians are asking us questions, and we will try to answer them.
So hi everyone, my name is Fernanda. I'm an allergist here from Brazil, and I do have some questions. And my first question is, you, Emek, and Jonathan probably have lots of research projects going on and lots of opportunities to work in different researches. So among all those ideas, which one, how do you decide which one is the best? What is the best route to pursue?
Well, I think that's a very interesting question, somewhat complex, because there's so many potential ways one can proceed. There's I think the most important thing is to say what questions do you want to answer? What's the unmet? What's the gap in knowledge? What do we need to learn about this complex condition? I think that chronic urticaria is oftentimes trivialized, but as we know, it has a significant impact on patients' lives and quality of life. And we've done a lot to investigate different aspects of this condition. So I think you got to read the literature. You've got to know what's been done, so you aren't just doing some Me Too type of research, something horizontally. You want to add something to our existing knowledge, and that's the challenge. And I think it comes with reading the literature and seeing, well, what's needed, what's unmet here, and also thinking about different your population that you're treating, your patient population, because what would you like to know how to better manage your patients? Okay, there's always things that come up every day when we see patients, whether it's assessing severity, whether using patient-reported outcome measures, whether it's doing provocation testing and different inducible forms of hives, whether it's understanding the epidemiology of this condition, which I think there's a lot of decreased, and there's a lack of information for many of these urticaria subtypes. So but really knowing the literature, reading the literature, and trying to find something that's going to contribute to the existing field. Emek, any comments about that from your perspective?
Yes, sure. It's the most important questions, of course. Where to start, where to find the question to be answered. For me, the most important point is curiosity. So what do you want to learn? What attracts your attention when you see the patients in the polyclinic? What do you want to answer? And if you don't have something in mind, there are many open questions. For example, they are summarized in the IACI guideline at the last paragraph of the guideline. You see many questions, open questions to be answered in the field of urticaria. For me, important aspects to be answered are, for example, spatial populations, hormones and urticaria that attracts my attention. And also I would like to learn more about what happens to male patients, female patients, do they have different features? And endotyping is very important. It's attracting very much attention nowadays. Who responds better to omalizumab, who responds better to cyclosporine. Many things to learn and explore, actually. For example, psychiatric interventions, can they help in urticaria management? What are the psychological factors? What are the role of neuromediators? There are many, and you will, of course, find your question to be answered by yourself.
And I'll add
Endless
to that.
Questions.
I'll add to that that there are a lot of existing data sets where you can use that information to generate more hypotheses, whether it's clinical or even genetic studies. I mean, so the days of actually mining existing data sets, this is really the present approach to many research approaches. So I think that that's something that you consider, where you can get preliminary data fairly quickly to validate your approach to a specific problem. But I agree with the need for endotyping these urticarious phenotypes. We really still don't understand how this condition works. We're learning, but there's a long way to go to understand what turns this process on and how we're turning it off. Recently, some of the clinical trials that have been undertaken for some of these biologics have not performed as well as we would have liked in especially in the omalizumab refractory cases. And so we still have to go beyond the IL-4 alpha, IgE pathways, and understand how there are multiple ways of activating a mast cell. It's very complex.
Yeah, many to explore in the pathophysiology, really. Okay.
So, hi, I'm Marisa. I'm speaking to you from Portugal. So after you choosing your research, are there any steps to start a UCARE project? Is there anything that's established so when you want to do a project with UCARE?
Yes, UCARE is a very good platform to make projects, actually. Because you can have the data of many colleagues from established urticaria centers. So these will be good data, and these will be big data. You will have many patients to enroll your project. So, and if you want to start a project in the UCARE network, then first thing you have to do is to check the UCARE website if there is any ongoing project which is similar to your idea. So first be sure that somebody else is not doing your study. So then you have to email the UCARE office that you want to do a project, and then they will send your project to the UCARE steering committee, who are the scientific board of UCARE network. So, and they will decide to do this project or not to do this project, or if maybe they may want some revisions from you. If they decide that you can do this project, then they advocate a scientific advisory board, advisory member for your project. And then the UCARE office informs you about this. Then you start your project with this scientific advisory person, and then you post the protocol of the scientific project of yourself to the UCARE webpage and to other UCARE centers, so that you can enroll as many colleagues as you can. And yes, for my latest project, 60 centers enrolled, and this is really enormous, and it makes you very happy and you feel powerful collaborating with that much center.
Yeah, I think that's really a very good summary, and I think that they do provide this stepwise approach, and there are a lot of people who've had experience starting these projects that were happy to discuss how to do it and actually be a mentor to you to get started and to collaborate. I think everyone's always interested in collaboration. You know, we're much stronger together than apart in this in investigating this condition.
Yes, yes, you
So,
really feel powerful.
Is there any mentorship program that the UCARE network has to help young junior physicians when studying a project?
Yes, that's a great question. Actually, that idea appeared in recent dialogues, that there should be a mentorship program to help the junior physicians, junior researchers to get in the to see new UCARE centers, to visit the UCARE centers and learn from them, learn from their experience and expand their knowledge. So I think there will be a program like this in the very near future. So it's a very good question, and it's on the way, actually.
And I think that even before that's formally established, if you're interested, there are many people in this network that are just reach out to somebody and say, hey, I have an idea, but I would like to see if you'd be willing to collaborate with me if you have the time, the bandwidth to do that. I think you'll find that people are very receptive to that. And and I think that's probably the best way to get these mentor-mentee projects started, is just do it.
Yeah.
Now there are some things that have been posted on the website. The application for the UCARE project application is downloaded on the website, so you can download that and see the what's recommended, how to run a UCARE project. So I think that's an important
Yes.
resource.
Yes, thanks for reminding that, Jonathan.
So,
Jonathan, you will receive many applications from after this fireside chat,
sure.
because
I
you're
think it
very
would be. I think it would be nice to have a listing of people who are involved, and because that way, when you go to the website, say, hey, maybe we'll collaborate with somebody from this country, and put together a project. So I've had the opportunity of collaborating with many different individuals, and it's always a gratifying experience, and so forth. So I think that's we need to build upon that.
Yes.
So I think we can ask. We have a question from the audience from Indrashis from India. She's asking if there are any grants from UCARE to attend conferences, meetings, or fellowships. Do you know anything about it?
Not yet.
No, I'm not aware of that either, but you know, many times there are travel grants that one can get from the organization that you're applying for. Those are available, and they don't pay for everything, but they give you some funding that allows you to go on the, and maybe you present some type of case report or some type of abstract or something that would allow you to get funding for that. In terms of small grants, there are a lot of organizations out there that do have grants. I can speak specifically about the United States. I know that there are grants through the American Academy, and there's also grants through the college that have for different projects, and of course investigating urticaria, and it could be something that could be applied to those. But also there's funding for if you have a good project, investigator-initiated studies. Industry is very interested in hearing people's ideas, and they do fund projects, small projects as well as larger projects to investigate different aspects of chronic urticaria. We are in a very kind of a ripe time of where there's a lot of interest in this condition. There's a lot of industries are developing therapies, novel therapies for the management of this. So this is the time to really apply for these types of investigator-initiated studies.
Yes. Great.
There is another question here from the audience, and I think it's Dr. Tankei, is asking, which molecules do you think could be the target or targets for the treatment of the urticaria in the future? It's a pretty specific question.
Yes.
Good question. And so I like some of the novel therapies. I like the c-KIT antagonist. I think that's interesting. I think that there are some therapies that look, you know, interesting. The BTK antagonists, as long as we see safety profiles. There were some of the earlier trials showed some toxicity, but some of the more recent ones, the remibrutinib looks pretty safe. It looks like it's got a pretty good safety profile. You know, we're going to start seeing studies with JAK inhibitors, more selective JAK inhibitors that probably are less toxic and have better safety profiles. They look very interesting and more downstream in terms of pathways and regulating pathways. I don't know yet what's going to happen with dupilumab or what's going to happen with these other variations of anti-IG molecules, given some of the recent pivotal trials. Will they be Me Too drugs, or how will they be positioned in with omalizumab, which will be becoming a biosimilar there'll be a biosimilar very soon. I think the cyclic 8 therapies could still be very interesting. They're operating in a different pathway, and there's some mass gene-related protein antagonists that are being looked at that are quite interesting, perhaps some tryptase antagonists. So I don't think it's going to be one size fits all. I really think that urticaria is a very heterogeneous disorder, and that's why it's really important to do better work. We need to phenotype patients. So if we can solidify the phenotypes and then work on endotyping, understanding the pathways of these patients, we're going to be able to have more targeted therapy and have better treatment outcomes. I think a lot of these larger studies, they just enroll everybody, and that's why you see negative studies, because it's just like asthma. There's going to be some who respond better than others.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Maybe IL-17 can be a molecule to target.
I think so, yeah.
Responders.
Yeah, and we'll see the TESI, the TSLPs are being looked at as well. So yes. So we'll see.
Maybe complement receptor inhibitors, C5a inhibitors.
Yes, yeah. I think so. That looks very promising, actually. There's some interesting stuff. So I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. It's a very, it's overwhelming almost because there's so much going on right now, but it's really an explosive time in this field. It's very exciting.
Yes, really. Okay.
So when you have research going on, you started a project, you invested your time, and you started investigating. So sometimes there are problems with compliance from patients and adherence. So how can you solve those kind of problems? Do you have any kind of methods, something that you think of, so that patients comply or are more adherent to the projects, to the studies? Sorry.
I think the study should be made convenient for the patients, maybe more convenient to attract them. And I don't know. Yes. Hard question to answer, actually. Do you have ideas, other ideas, Jonathan?
Well, again, it depends on the type of study. It is many patients are patients of investigators that you're collaborating with, so it requires a good relationship between the doctor and the physician and the patient to ensure that they'll participate. And so once they're recruited, you hope that your collaborator, where these patients come from, will be able to help ensure that they'll respond to phone calls or respond to emails or whatever the project. So this is a problem with every study, and in clinical trials, it's you obviously, that's one of the inclusion criteria, willing to participate with over 70 to 80% of the protocol steps and so forth. But you never know, but you just have to be enthusiastic. You have to have good communication and try to message the patient why this is important that they're participating, how it's going to help them, but also help the overall community of patients who have this problem. So a lot of communication, a lot of positive encouragement. And again, it depends if it's just a questionnaire versus a more involved study and so forth.
And talking about clinical trials, I've had some challenge to recruit patients for a clinical trial once. I thought I would be able to recruit like a huge amount of patients. And in the end, my rate was quite lower than what I expected. So I think really to communicate and to explain the patient that they are going to help others helps a lot when trying to recruit these patients.
Yeah, I agree. And I can tell you, though, that these clinical trials, they look easy on paper, but when you start trying to identify the exclusion criteria, they're not, because and then especially you're competing with existing therapies. There's many of these patients you start putting on maintenance on high dose antihistamines, they'll start to respond. So you lose those people right away. So it's so it's not so easy. And it is a problem for everybody.
Yes. Okay.
So speaking about clinical trials, I think in Portugal, and I think in Brazil as well, Fernanda can say, there are any compensations for your patients. Like here in Portugal, you can only pay for food and transportation, but we cannot give monetary compensations. I think Fernanda is the same. How is it in your country? Do you think this is important? I think it may be different what you can do with your patients, maybe, and adherence, I think.
No, it's the same in Turkey. We can't compensate other money else than transportation and food. Is it different? in the States?
In the United
Just-
States, we are allowed to provide a modest stipend, which is, they say, with time, but it can't be coercive. It can't be where it's going to, the patients are going to cooperate because they're getting paid. So it's got to be a modest stipend, but it is a patient stipend, and it's, that is offered to patients to participate, but the IRB determines whether it's too high or too low, or not too low, but too high, because patients will then have another reason for participating and not necessarily report. They might start reporting things based on, what you want them to report and not what's truly reportable. So you have to be very careful when you offer money to patients. And I think that's why many countries don't allow that, but the United States does allow a modest stipend. I've been involved in one trial, not related to hives, where the industry, the company was very interested in getting patients recruited and offered an incredibly high stipend. And I can just tell you that the study turned out to be negative across sites because I think people were just wanting to participate and didn't necessarily report accurately. So we have to be very careful about these stipends and so forth. On the other hand, we have to be respectful of people's time and the effort it takes to participate in these studies, and they, should be given transportation costs and some modest amount in my opinion. But
Mhm.
I do
Yes.
have quite a personal question. I mean, when do you decide to stop investing in a project? Let's say you started doing a research project, and in the end, it was like the editor of a journal said it was going to be rejected. It was not a good idea. Should we keep investing in it? Should we try other journals? How many journals? What are your thoughts about that?
Is there a limit to this, Jonathan? I don't think
No.
there is a limit to this.
no,
As
I think yeah.
we never give up.
Right. I can tell you, doing the study is less timely than writing the manuscript and getting it accepted. There's all these, it's very time consuming to keep submitting these things to journal after journal. But, of course, you're very enthusiastic about the work. You think it's important, you think it's contributing, but, not everyone has that same perspective. And journals have a finite number of pages, printed pages, where they can only publish so much. Many times they might say, yes, we'll publish it, but in the form of a letter. It's an abbreviated article. You may say, no, this is very important. We think that this is a better study than what you're giving it credit for. So I wouldn't go based on just what the journal editor says. They have certain restrictions in terms of how many articles they can accept and what's of interest to their readership. So selecting the right journal is very important, and to go and investigate what they've published previously on this topic, and are they interested in this topic? What is the readership interested in? And that's how you would select it. Certainly we try to go with the highest impact factor, but these days it almost becomes a little bit unnecessary. Of course, academically and rising up, you want to have high impact factor journals, but everything is now becoming open access, and I think we're going to see that trend. And regardless, it's all going to be on the PubMed, so it'll be accessible for people to see. So, and that's how it gets recognized. But I would go and I wouldn't give up on your work. If you had the passion to do the work, you should try to you just start, at what you feel is the highest impact factor that's reasonable, and then you find other journals. There's a lot of, now it may be that open access is your only ability to do it, and there are most of these journals now, like Allergy has an open access journal, and Jackie has an open access journal, and there's a lot of other publishers that have open access. and that's a cost, and not everyone can afford to pay for that, but they are giving, they are doing it for free or at a significantly reduced rate for many countries where they are not, economically privileged, or they can actually afford these. So I think there's a case to be made. So you need to look at that. A lot of times they list the countries where they give you discounts or free or waive the publication costs and so forth. So, but I wouldn't give up on your research. I think if you've done the work and you think worth reporting, then you keep trying.
Yes.
So
Nothing's easy.
Yes, many rejections every time.
Well,
and
yes.
dermatology journals reject more the urticaria papers. You have more chance in allergy journals, I believe.
Okay.
I rejected many times by derm journals.
I think, the other thing is where we really lack information is epidemiology, and the UCARE is set up for really good prevalence data around the world. We don't have that, especially for inducible hives, for many types of inducible hives, and for hives in children. There's limited information. You mentioned hormonal issues, pregnancy, things of that nature. I just think that you could go to even primary care journals with some of those data, because it's important that primary care doctors, if you write it right, and if these are also fair game, not just allergy, and we have to educate the rest of the public about hives, and they're reading more of the primary care journals. So don't forget about that as well.
Good point. Yes.
So you guys do lots of multicenter studies, right? Do you have any, how do you enhance the collaboration between sites, between different centers? Do you have any strategies, something that you can use to make other people participate?
Yeah, so from a multi-center study perspective, this is usually run by the sponsor. And so they have CROs that they hire to really coordinate the different sites. So from that perspective, if it's a sponsor funded study, it's really not that much interaction between sites in terms of everyone's responsible for their own site and recruiting the number of patients that they've committed to recruiting based on their population. In investigator-initiated studies, or where you are the sponsor and you are the so to speak, running the CRO and so forth, then it's important to select your investigators very wisely. And sometimes the biggest names are not always the best investigators. You need to have people who really are committed to the research, who've had good track records with recruitment, and you need to investigate that, and then you communicate throughout the study, and you try to make sure that they're meeting targets and so forth. But and you have to make sure you select enough investigators to meet your enrollment, because these days and age, like you said, someone say low recruitment, you might only get 3 to 4 to 5 patients. So if you have if you need to have, you have to have the number of sites that are going to be able to do that. 30, 40 sites might be necessary. So I think for some of these investigator-initiated studies, they're smaller studies, more proof of concept, trying to, stimulate is there a signal there that would indicate a need for a larger study and so forth. So, but that's how I look at it and so forth.
Yes. And the UCARE platform is a great platform to increase your number of patients. So many of our colleagues are very interested in participating in the UCARE project. So if you do a UCARE project, then you send continuously emails to remind the colleagues to increase your participation. Jonathan was also involved in the COVAX EU project. So did I disturb so much, Jonathan?
No, I think that you never disturb. I think it's important to. It's everyone's doing so many things. Okay, everyone is so busy and running around. You know, you're not just taking care of patients. You've got multiple projects going on. You have other responsibilities at your institutions. You've got family responsibilities. You've got, you know, there's a lot of things going on in people's lives. So I think I probably tend to, I'm a yes person. So I say yes, many, I don't say no often. And that's sometimes not good, but you know, but but I think you want yes people, because yes people will eventually get it done. Maybe not in the exact timeline that you think, but never think that the timelines always are going to be the timelines that you want. It's always sometimes there's going to be some delay. But I think that you want yes people when you work with them, okay? Because those are the ones that are going to get things done. And busy people do get things done. And they find ways of getting things done because they're good at multitasking and delegating and so forth. So I saw a note from Ivan Cherez from Ecuador, who basically says you have to be patient and have confidence in your research. Keep trying. And I would resonate. Ivan and I I've been you know honored to participate in some projects that Ivan has undertaken, and he's been very successful in publishing his research.
Yes, Ivan, hi.
Talking about being busy and busy lives, I know everyone, you guys probably have like a busy clinic. How do you balance like the time you're going to spend in your clinic, the time you're going to spend doing research? Because here in Brazil, we do not have, things are apart. We kind of do research on our after hours, like pro bono, after seeing patients. How do you manage that?
Yeah, it's always a problem. You have a lot of clinic duties and you also have education duties, and then you have to do research in this 5 days a week. So you really steal from your private life. You have to steal the time from your family and from your friends. So it's really exhausting, isn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that there's a strong commitment. You know, you have a strong commitment to doing the work. It's really something that is done on weekends and nights a lot of times, and it's homework, and it's good work. But if you just try to do this 9 to 5 and you don't have protected time to be a full-time researcher, which many people don't, they're doing clinical responsibilities. Then you have to put the time in other after hours, and that's a balancing act. And you have to have a supportive partner who is willing to help out with your other responsibilities, and that can be, you know, I think that's really, we're only as good as the people who surround us, and when we have that type of support, you can accomplish a lot and so forth. So but I think everyone's in the same boat there, but it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's interesting because we teach medical students now that you have to separate your private life from your professional life. I'm not sure that's a good thing to teach them, because we are physicians. We have obligations to our patients, whether it's during the hours or after hours. And the same thing, you know, our interest to move the specialties, the discipline of our specialties forward, it does take a lot of time and effort. So we need to pay attention to other things in our lives, and it shouldn't be all encompassing, but I think you could do both. It's a balancing act. And you get used to it. You get used to multitasking and delegating and doing the work and so forth.
Yes.
You need a good statistician in your quarter, though. I tell you that. If you don't know the stats yourself, if you aren't doing your own biostats, you better have someone who you can rely on. So, because that's very important. And, many people in the UCARE network do their own biostats, so these simple statistics, but some of the more complex analyses do require some advanced statistics.
Yes, they are needed.
So in the last couple of years, we have to talk about it. So COVID hit us all, and our work and our research. In a positive mindset, do you think we learn anything from it? Like, did it help like developing research? Maybe used to telephone appointments and online appointments. Maybe it could help reach the patients a little better. Do you think it changed your way of working and researching?
Yeah. I think it's actually, there's pros and cons with COVID. It's really taken us from having more interpersonal relationships and going to meetings and talking and collaborating, but telemedicine, video method approaches to interacting and meetings and so forth. I think it's been probably a pretty good thing because we all live in different parts of the world. It's hard to pick up and go to all of these meetings. You can only go to so many meetings a year, and so this having this type of technology does allow us to interact more. Just like this fireside chat, this is wonderful. We have people from all over the world listening to this or participating, and it's a great interaction. We wouldn't have had that, I don't think, with COVID as quickly. I think we had it, but it wasn't being used like it's being used today. So does it replace on-site meetings? No, it shouldn't. I would like to see us getting back together and doing more meetings. We were just at the I was just at the WAO, British Society for Allergy and Clinical Immunology in Edinburgh, and it was nice. We had over 1,000 people there, and it was great from different, a lot of people from different parts, but of course mostly Brits, but we had a lot of other people from all over the world, and I think we're going to see that in the ACI meeting in Prague. I think we're going to see a greater participation. It's going to take some time, but I do think this technology has helped, and I think we can use that to help interview patients, to go through, do research. There's a lot of things that have opened up as a result of this. So I don't know what your experience has been, Emek. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. And there is also, I think some studies has become virtual clinical trials. There is this understanding like this. Now we are in the metaverse era, so everything is changing. But I have to tell you, Marisa and Fernanda, we only have time for one question left because it's already 45 minutes now.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
So maybe we do the question from the audience that it's in the chat. Maybe I think.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So Elaine Deary asks, what do you think of the possibility of collaboration with patients' associations?
Yes, it's a very good idea, actually. Now we are planning to do a study on the COVID reactions, COVID vaccine triggered urticaria, and we want to collaborate with the patient organizations because we want to reach as many urticaria patients as we can to collect more data from the patients. So they are really very eager to help in increasing knowledge about urticaria. So it's a really good question and comment. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. And I think we should probably list on the UCARE network, what are these patient organizations that are interested in urticaria, because unlike some of these other patient organizations like hereditary angioedema or eosinophilic disorders, I'm not aware, at least in the United States, of any grassroots patient driven organizations that focus on urticaria, and maybe that's something we need internationally, and somehow. But I think it would be nice to share that. I think that share these patient organizations because they're not as focused as they are for other disease spaces. from what I can see.
Yes, I think it's a transient disease. Maybe that's the point. And so they also need some budget to make the patient organization. That might be blocking them.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
But something to think about. Let's see, there you are, another project.
Never-ending projects. I love UCARE and I love the project.
So, okay, well, this was very good. I enjoyed this. Thank you.
Yes.
I think that we talked about a lot of interesting things. One final point about the COVID, you know, of course, there's been a lot of projects looking at the effects of COVID and urticaria, and I think we still need to understand that more. Some papers have been written, but, you know, patients are complaining about hives that are getting worse during COVID, or maybe delayed hives and or whatever. And I think, you know, it kind of brings this whole concept of the other receptors on mast cells, like TLR receptors. What's their role for, you know, in terms of viral infections? And we don't know, you know, we think that viruses are big triggers in children, but no one's really investigated this from a mechanistic perspective and so forth. So, yeah,
we need a lot of information on this, and COVID really attracted attention to this point. We will see.
So I think our time is over, right? But it was so fun. Thanks a lot for the answers and for the insights, right?
Yeah, we enjoyed it, and I think everybody who's on this call is interested in collaboration. So let's continue the dialogue, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yes, and we want to thank our sponsors, Allakos and Novartis, and please don't forget to fill in the feedback. I think there will be a code, but now it's not showing. So I think we better end now. So give us feedback and follow the UCARE LevelUp activities on social media, please. Thanks for your interest and participation. Thanks, Marisa, Fernanda. Thanks, Jonathan. Nice to see you. Hope to meet soon.
Yeah, I hope to see everyone soon at the meeting. Take care. Be well, be safe.
Take you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.